So when it comes to residential cash flow versus tax deed cash flow, we kind of have a rule with cash flow properties regardless that we want to make at least 1% net per month or 12% a year. So that means if you have 100,000 invested, then obviously you want to net $1,000 a month on that rental property. Now, there's some markets in the country, like those of you guys joining us from California, that's not going to really happen, unfortunately. You're not going to be able to get those numbers very easily, even the 1% rule. But there's so many areas of the country where it's easy to pick up tax deeds at a great price, put some money into them. We're seeing it where we're getting much better than the 1% rule. We're making 30, 40, 50% a year in cash flow on our properties. And if you think about a return on your money, I don't know a lot of places you're going to get a better return on your money than 30, 40, 50% a year. All and you're also getting over time appreciation. So the tax deed rentals, some of the properties we've bought in the last year, we've gotten a bunch of them minimum bid. In certain states like Arkansas, I spent anywhere from about $1,718 for the cheapest house we bought, up to about $22,000. And those homes are worth anywhere from about 120 to $350,000. And so when we're talking about buying, properties at the right price, that makes a big difference because then you're going to get much better than 1% rule. So if you're buying a house at 5 to 30, 40 grand, we're putting a little bit into rehab on it. Obviously, you're going to be renovating differently for rentals versus fix and flips. And, we're just trying to get rent ready. We're not trying to say do full rehab. And in areas like that, you're probably going to get rent somewhere between about 850 up to about $1,900 a month. So when it comes down to it, you're able to take things much farther, And so if you have, let's say, 70 grand in your retirement account, your solo 401k or self-directed IRA. And by the way, for those that don't have your retirement accounts directed for real estate, that's something we can help you with too. You can actually use your retirement accounts to buy real estate property. You can use your retirement accounts to bid to buy properties from the auctions. You just have to get it structured correctly. You have to get it set up in the right type of self-directed IRA 401k. And you're able to do that. And because I don't know about you, but I'm a big fan. I'd rather put my money into property than into stocks or bonds or whatever else. But in that case, you'd be able to buy two properties, let's say 25K, put 10 grand into them, they're cash flowing, even on the low end, 850 a month. Well, in that way, you'd be making about 29% cash on cash return on your money. And netting or getting a cap rate of low about 22%. Plus, you have a ton of instant equity as you jump into that. And that's one of the big tickers. Um, is you're going to have a bunch of instant equity across the board, you know. And so when we look at all this stuff, those are things that we're going to be taking into consideration, across the board is what that instant equity can make a big difference for how you grow this portfolio. So here's an example. Let's say you bought it for 20,000, you put 15 into you for 35 grand, it's getting $1,000 a month in rent. That means it's grossing about 12,000 a year, netting after taxes, insurance, and maintenance about 27.1% a year. So that means every 4 years the property pays for itself. 100% return on your investment every 4 years. Plus, you're going to gain some equity, but you also have instant equity. So in this case, you'd actually have, oh, that number's wrong in there. That's funny. I didn't just notice that. But you'd actually have, if you're into it for 35 and it's worth 110, you have about, what, $65,000 in equity, 75,000 in equity in that property. And you'd be able to take that and do a lot with it. And so when I look at tax deed rentals, one of the scenarios that we really pay attention to, and let me show you a different slide, is what we can do with that property, after the fact. So if I come here, is you can use that to substantially grow a portfolio. Now, there are a bunch of things that you're gonna have to do, obviously, to make this thing happen, but you don't necessarily have to keep using your own cash because, and let me just show you. So what it would look like was a little bit like this. So in that case, when, instead of buying one property, let's say you're buying properties at a tax deed auction, now they're getting rents per month. Well, after we have lenders, which we're happy to share with you guys. We don't get anything from them. We just have a bunch of lenders that we know are good lenders that will give you 30-year fixed mortgages on those rentals at about 6% interest rate, and they'll give you up to 70, 80% of the equity. So in that scenario I was just showing you where you have 75,000 equity and you're into for 35, it's worth 110. I might be able to pull out an $80,000 loan, maybe the $90,000 loan against that property. And now I can take that 90,000 and go buy more. And as you start going through cycles on that, pretty soon you have six houses, then nine, and 12, and 15, and 18. And you can actually use the equity from your other properties to buy additional properties. Now, typically we like to keep that fairly conservative. So I don't want to have, and I'll try and break down an example with you guys on this stuff. But when we're talking about exit strategies, and then I'm going to talk about some fix and flip stuff with you, turning it into good rental properties across the board can make a big difference, you know, on where your portfolio is going, how you're building it. So I'm gonna try over here. Is this other screen I have? It's a little bit easier to do whiteboarding on. But let me see if I can show you guys this. So move this over just a bit. So as we're looking at it, you know, across the board, is if I'm looking at a property, and let's just say that you go get one property at a tax deed auction, a little house like this, and you pick it up for 25K, and then you put 10,000 into it to renovation. So now you're into it for 35,000. Let's say it's worth 120,000. Okay, and I'll show you some real examples of this. I mean, across the board. I mean, there's some properties you need less. There's one house we picked up for about 20 grand. We're only putting about 5 grand into it. It's rent. It was almost pretty much rent ready to go. And so in that case, it's we're in for about 25K and the rents in that area about 1,100 bucks a month. So let's just say in this case, the rents here are $1,200 a month. Well, right there, you put your own 35,000 into this deal, correct? However, that doesn't mean that's where it has to, that's where you stop. Because I have private lenders, like Castle, Kiavi, Center Street, a whole bunch of others, private hard money lenders, where you can get 30-year fixed mortgages. They're called DSCR loans, okay, at 6% interest, sometimes up to 7% interest. And you can get anywhere between 70 and 80% of the market value. So now it's worth 120,000. Maybe if you're doing a fix and flip, you would have put 25 into it and be worth 150. So maybe it'd be worth a little more if you did more renovation. But in this case, it's not worth it because we're trying to maximize rents. And so now you go, okay, I've got this, and now I can go and potentially get a mortgage on the property. And and now I go and pull out, let's say 80,000. Okay. Well, instead of getting the 1,200 bucks a month, now I might be down to 600. Is that still good? Yeah. So I'm still cash flowing $600 a month. That means as long as it's rented out 6 months out of the year, it's covering the full year mortgage payments. If I'm pulling cash out of a rental, the thing I want to be concerned about is I never want to have to make that mortgage payment. Who's going to make those mortgage payments every single time, you guys? The tenants, right? And so that's why I want making those payments. And so that's a very conservative amount to where you're not over leveraging or anything else where it's very easy to get a return. Now you've got still $600 left there, but now you've got the ability to go get a couple more. Whoops, switch from highlighter back to pen.
Hey,
Here,
Tom,
yeah,
could you try doing me a favor? Can you go to the more button real quick and see if there's a option that says live stream, and then
more button.
yeah, the more button, and then live on custom live stream service.
Mine doesn't say it on mine.
Okay, all right.
Actually, there is a live stream.
If there's
What do you want to
a live
live
on
stream custom service?
yeah, because that yeah, I tried to set it all up so we could try live streaming on the YouTube channels and stuff, but I think I had to click on that button.
Do you want live on YouTube?
Live on custom live stream service. Is there something that says that?
Yep. Yes. Tell me if that does anything
Yeah,
different.
yeah, it looks like it's being live streamed. So, sorry everyone that's just coming in now. We just figured out the live stream. This is our first time, but I think that we're ready to go. So I'll let you go get back to what you're doing. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go through. Let me get back to what I was talking about now. So in this case, with in what we're looking at here is now I can go and get two properties, right? And maybe I'm into each of those. Even if I said I was into each of these for 40, maybe I bought them for 15, 20, and I'm putting that much into them. And so maybe I bought for 15 and I'm putting 20 into this one. Bought this one for 20 and put 20 into it, whatever that might be, right? Those numbers. Now I got two rental properties. And if they're each worth about 120, I'm just going to stick with that number. On average, I'm getting an average of $1,200 a month. I realize some might be getting 900, some might be getting 1,600, 1,700, but we'll just say an average of 1,200 bucks a month. Well, now I've got two rentals that I used the equity from the property and I got my original money back plus the equity from the property. And now I can go get at least two more, and if maybe I'll even potentially, if I got good enough deals, I could get three more. Let's just say in this case, you got two more. Well, now, once I've got 3 months of rent rolls, what can I do it again? I can rinse and repeat the same process again. Pull out 80,000 here, 80,000 here, and now I've got 160K. And instead of course, instead of 1,200 bucks a month on each of these, right? Instead of 1,200, I'm getting 600 a month times two now. So I'm getting $1,200 a month here. Plus, I'm getting $600 a month on the original. So I'm still cash flowing $1,800 a month. And now I have $160,000 cash. So what do you think if I'm trying to build a portfolio? What do you think I'm going to do again? I can rinse and repeat that same process and do the same thing again. And then this time, maybe we actually get four, potentially even, let's say we got five properties here. And do you guys see, hopefully you can see, like, this is a strategy where the only capital you had to put in was the original 35,000. And even if you didn't have all of that, you could actually have just, as long as you had the money to buy the property at the auction, you could potentially get a loan for the rest on the construction loan if you wanted. But now, as we start rinsing and repeating again, it's the same exact scenario. It's just times five, right? So when I look at, you know, when I look at once I do the same thing, now I'm getting, oh, there it goes. Now I'm getting 80, 80, 80, 80, and $80,000 here. Let's say they're each worth 120 on average. I'm getting $1,200 a month. Okay, 120, 120. And then you're getting $1,200 a month in rent. Well, of course, that's going to get cut in half to 600 with new loan. Now have a 600 on mortgage payment. But now instead of 600 times one, two, you're getting 600 times five in this case. So you're essentially getting still 3,000 a month from these properties here in cash flow. But now you've got 80 times five, right? So essentially now you've got 400,000 to go into the next group with. So it doesn't take too many of these cycles, you guys, and you could be substantially, significantly changing a lot of things. Because now, if I do one more cycle, right? Oops, it's going to highlighter. Now I'm going to get 10 properties, 10 more properties, rather than draw all these, you know. And at this point, if I'm getting $1,200 a month in cash flow times 10, I'm getting 12K a month in cash flow here. Even if you stop there, right? If you stop there, essentially, oh my gosh, what is going on here? If you stopped here, you would still have one, two, three, eight. You'd have a total of 18 properties, and you would have 10 that are free and clear, have no mortgages on them, that are paid for, that you're getting $12,000 a month in cash flow. And you have eight other properties that are leveraged, but you're still getting what, $4,800 a month. So you're making about 18,000 a month in rental property if you stopped right there. If this was your new line, you said, okay, we're done. 18 grand a month is enough for me. I'm done. And the other eight properties are going to pay themselves off over time through making those mortgage payments. Now, if you decide to go one more time, right, you would end up with, instead of 12,000 a month, instead of 12,000 a month, you would end up with about 6,000 a month. So you'd still be over $10,000 a month cash flow, but you would essentially, if you pulled out money one more time, you'd pull out about $800,000 in cash. And the best part, you guys, is if I pull out that $800,000 in cash, that is a non-taxable event because it's not profits, it's a loan. And you don't get taxed on borrowed money. And so even though somebody else is making those loan payments for me, my tenants, I'm not getting taxed. So that $800,000 cash, I could technically do whatever I want with it. But you know what? Now if I went and bought a whole bunch more rentals, I might buy me 20 more rental properties. And now I have 20 properties that are free and clearing at 20,000 a month, plus the other, what, 10,000, almost 11,000 a month I'm currently making. Or that could be a great down payment on a multifamily, or apartment building. And so there's so many things that you can do with that make a big difference across the board. And that's one of the areas that I really love working on is exactly that because you can grow a portfolio with very little capital. And